Hey, Larken Rose here. As we see more and more things that may remind you of a dystopian nightmare, thought I'd do kind of a positive, optimistic reminder for people. So right now we have those brave, courageous Republicans literally cheering for the bad guys in V for Vendetta, the armed gang of thugs randomly harassing people, and there's people in masks, they're terrorists. You gotta arrest them all, maybe kill them, maybe kill their families. You gotta do it. You gotta do it. Conservatives, yay! Okay, so that can be a little bit discouraging and frustrating that you have a bunch of dumbasses who 5 seconds ago pretended they give a crap about the Constitution and now are cheering for just in the street blatant fascist thuggery and kidnapping people and dragging them off the street in the name of immigration, and because that's the excuse this week. There's always a new excuse, and there's always new idiot dupes falling for it and cheering for their own enslavement. Yay. But, as I said, the point of this video is to give something a little more optimistic. Donald Trump is a pathetic snowflake beta ass-kissing pawn of the machine while trying to be a strong man. I'm strong. I'm serious. Because I can call people names. Now, if anybody calls me names, that can't be legal. They should be arrested. And if anybody makes my escalator not work for 5 seconds, they should be arrested. You got to do it. So, spineless wussy pansy and all the dumbass snowflakes cheering for him. In addition to being a wuss, Donald Trump is also an idiot. He's not a super genius. He's not playing 5D chess. He's being a little bitch of the deep state and the ruling class of Israel, among others, and the war machine and all that fun stuff. But he's also a moron. He doesn't really know how reality works. Now, no, he's not really in charge of anything, and people comment that, and yes, that is true. He isn't in charge of much of anything. He's the puppet, so he has certain influence on day-to-day, like, logistical crap going on, and makes a bungling mess of it constantly. But the reason it matters that he's an idiot is because he thinks that authoritarianism works the way you see it in Hollywood, like in V for Vendetta. Now, like I said, he would be cheering for the wrong side. Look at those terrorists. Why can't they just go along? Why can't they just do as they're told? If you just obey and get treated like livestock without complaining, you have nothing to worry about. So, Trump would be, now, compared to the actual bad guy in V for Vendetta, we need them to always remember why they need us. That's exactly what Trump's trying to do, only when he does it, it comes across as a bumbling moron, as are all of his followers at this point. Be that as it may, he's also an idiot and he doesn't understand basic math. Now, this is a thing that I've pointed out before to pro-freedom people because it's easy to get scared of dystopian police state predictions, and I'm going to say again, I'm not that scared of that, because numbers. When you see these scary movies of like, oh, there's military and there's police everywhere, no, there isn't. That's not how it works. They don't have enough people to do that. If they took the entire military and all law enforcement and like, we're going to patrol the streets and our thugs don't even get to sleep today. We're going to have them all active duty, military, police, law enforcement, every agency just storming up and down the streets looking for illegals or whatever the patsy is this week for pushing authoritarian bullshit. If they did that, you almost wouldn't know it's happening because you would run into them so rarely because they are so vastly outnumbered by the general population. Now, they do what cowards and bullies and thugs often do, which is they'll send in a bunch of their masked armed thugs to one area, harass and beat up and kidnap a bunch of people in some apartment building or something. Ooh, look how powerful we are. Yeah, if you bring in all your resources against a building full of people minding their business and living their lives, yeah, you can go, ooh, shock and awe, look how intimidating we are. Look how powerful, we're making a powerful statement. Trouble is, if even a tiny percentage of the people who live there decide they've had enough of that shit, and fight back. Not even like actually fighting back. Just, we hate you. We're standing in the street yelling at you. Some of us might throw rocks, like whatever. And I'm not even saying whether that's good or when it is, anything of the sort. I'm just talking about the logistics of how this works. If you get a significant, even tiny minority percentage of the population who just says, we're not going along with this, and actually resists, very quickly you see that all that bravado and posturing and look how bad and tough we are is just out the stinking window. And by the way, that already happened in Chicago, where they had to whine to the local police, help, come save us. We were just minding our own business and planting flowers and painting rainbows, and suddenly these mean... Oh, you mean you were going door to door being Nazi fuckers and somebody didn't like that? And then somebody resisted? Like a little bit? Not really resistance. Like the day you meet real resistance, you're all frickin' dead. Because I see, there's brave men and women of ice harassing, people going to work. Yeah, the day you pick on somebody who has a little bit of munitions and a weapon, you can all bravely jump out of the van and you'll all bravely be in a pool of your own stupid fascist blood 5 seconds later because you're tactical morons. You're just doing it to intimidate the sheep. The moment anybody actually resists that, like, a van pulls up and they jump out in the middle of the street. Like, if somebody decides to treat you as an enemy combatant, you're jumping out and then you're all dying. Like, they don't have any ability to actually win a tactical war against the people unless the people are mostly just putting up with it and sometimes saying words and every once in a while like throwing a bottle or a rock or something. Like, whoop-de-doo, that's not real resistance. Real resistance would exterminate you fascist bastards in a heartbeat. Not even saying that's what should happen. I'm saying if there were actually people resisting, like resisting for real, the whole look how tough we are would be over like that. Everybody would quit ICE except the ones who are lying in the street dead because it's a little too late for you fascists to do that. The rest of you would quit because you're fucking cowards. You do this because you're on a power trip. And if you don't believe me, look up any story of any school shooting and watch the video of the cowardly fascists. Oh, you mean it's not like unarmed people on a work site trying to earn a living? We can harass them and be big and bad and tough. There's somebody with a gun. Let's all hide out here because there's a kid with a gun inside the school. So they all hide outside like a bunch of spineless pansies. They are, because that's law enforcement for you. They're bullies and they're cowards. In an actual combat situation, if there's somebody willing to shoot them as quickly as they're willing to shoot other people, they're all going to piss themselves, drop their guns, and run away because they're fucking cowards. Same thing is true of ICE. Same thing's true of DEA, ATF. And so you actually got an example of that in Chicago. It wasn't even a real resistance. It wasn't like, we're going to have a big shootout because it wouldn't have gone that. But they cried for local police, help, save us, because they're being mean. And from what I saw, I have no idea if the reporting's accurate, but the local police chief was like, screw you. Like, we have other things to do. You came in here to do this. Now you're whining for us to come save your ass. It's not really our job. Like, deal with it yourself, dumbasses. I don't think he actually said that. I would have loved it if the police chief would say that. But so they're crying for help against not at all real resistance, just crowds that they can't quite handle. But it gives a fine illustration that even a bunch of people mostly just sort of mad at them and saying words and saying, we don't like you, you suck. We like our neighbors, even if some of them don't have magic pieces of paper from the politicians saying they're allowed to be here. Like, we still like our neighbors. Even if the master hasn't approved of them being on half a continent, we don't care, screw you. And even in that tiny setting where they can pile tons of resources into a small area, already you see their huffing, puffing, falling apart at the seams. And that area is not Chicago. It is the tiniest little section of Chicago. I mean, there was just, it's happened in so many different cities. Like in LA, it's like, oh, the riots going on in LA. And like millions of people in LA are like, what riots? Like, I'm just living my life the same way I always do. I've seen no hint of that. Well, here's the map of LA. Here's the riots going on. Like, okay, so tiny little speck in the middle of one city, in the middle of a huge country. That's the big showdown. And still, the fascists are getting their butts handed to them on occasion. So anyway, the point of this is to point out again, no, they don't have the resources to make a dystopian V for Vendetta police state nightmare. Yeah, they're power-happy fascists. Yeah, that's really bad. Yeah, there are real victims of that in particular places where the thugs show up. It's like the same thing as any other street gang. Yeah, if they all show up in one place to like do a drive-by and shoot a bunch of bullets into some store because somebody didn't pay their protection racket or something, yeah, that's dangerous. Yeah, they're a threat. Can they do that to a whole city? No. Can the feds? No. If you just look at the numbers, like how many people actually work for ICE, it's puny. I mean, it's a really big number if they're all at your house. But if they're spread out through a whole city, you wouldn't even notice they're there. It's like, oh, one dumbass in a costume hiding his face because he's a fucking coward. And lots of people going, hey, you suck, get out of here. And then he slinks away. If they tried to do it to the whole country at once, that's what happens. Now, Trump is too stupid to understand that. And he's like, we're going to go city to city and bring in my great Reich, my Fourth Reich, which is going to make everything so great. And get all those criminals and terrorists and other Republicans will cheer for me because they're idiots. Remember I said that they're idiots? Before I ran for office, I said I would run as a Republican because Republicans are so stupid they believe anything. Well, they did, and I did, and they elected me, and now they're cheering for totalitarianism. But he's talking about going to city to city. Imagine this. Now, again, I'm not even suggesting this. I'm just describing the logistics of what it would take. Imagine one of these raids. Oh, they're also trying to silence, like, their apps somewhere. Is it on Apple or something? Apps where people can report, yeah, the immigration Nazis are over here, and they can tell people and share that around. And government pressured somebody to take that app down, which is a violation of the First Amendment. Like, oh, we can't have people, like, talking to each other about where the Nazis are showing up. Yeah, that's not at all reminiscent of totalitarian regimes. And by the way, yes, it's obviously illegal. The courts have already dealt with this before when it came to people flashing their headlights about, hey, there's a cop up there. And a few people got pulled over. You're not allowed to do that? Really? What law was that against? None. It just hurt my badge-wearing feelings. They went to the courts, and the court said, yeah, you're allowed to tell somebody you saw a cop, you dumbasses. That's not a crime. So it would be the exact same thing here, if it ever bothers to make it to the courts. So it's fascist, unconstitutional bullshit, which Republicans seem to be a big fan of now. But imagine this. Again, not suggesting this. I mean, there are settings when this could totally be justified, but I'm not even talking about whether it's justified or logistically useful or anything of the sort. Imagine in one of their photo ops, and they are photo ops, they are terrorists. ICE is a gang of terrorists functioning as terrorists. They're doing it, they're publicizing it, they're bringing in Black Hawk helicopters. You don't have a car? Yeah, but it looks cool and bad and scary when we come in Blackhawks and spend $80 bajillion to do something tactically moronic instead of just driving over there. It's entirely terrorism. It's to spread fear. It's to terrorize people. That's what that is for. Okay, so picture a van. And the clips I've seen of, like, they're wearing cams inside the van and then leaking that, like, here we are jumping out of the van, going after these immigrants. And they're publishing that because some bootlicking idiots are stupid enough to go rah, rah, rah for that. Okay, picture this happening once, just anywhere. A van pulls up. We're going to go get those immigrants. The doors open. Somebody with a 30-round clip and an AR, an AK, or whatever. Bang, 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 all of them dead. Anybody who knows how to aim at all and has an AR or an AK or any semi-auto anything could very easily do that. Van pulls up in the middle of the street. There's 100 vantage points. that if you know that's happening, it's really easy to kill everybody getting. Well, they have vests. Yeah, good luck. Have a 308. Have fun with that. So it's really damn easy. Like, tactically, what they're doing is utterly moronic. But they know it works because they're not actually fighting people who are fighting back. They're fighting innocent victims. They're being fascist thugs. But if one person decides, okay, you're going to behave like this is a military conflict, I'm going to behave like this is a military conflict, and you're all going to die the moment you step out of your stupid van. And then the whole world is going to see that. And some of the people are going to go, well, serves you right, you Nazi fucks. In fact, I would be one of those people. That would serve you right, you Nazi fucks. If you show up being fascist, randomly harassing and kidnapping people because they don't have the permission, I'd be like, meh, serves you right, Nazi fucks. And the moment that happened, what do you think is going through the mind? Now, lots of people go, oh, that was horrible, we can't have that. What do you think is going through the mind of everybody in ICE? Can I not be in the next van where we jump out on some random street where a bunch of people hate us? Because I don't really want to get gunned down while I'm trying to go harass people who are just like going to work and stuff. Maybe I don't want to do that anymore. And it would be a small minority of the population go, well, serves you right, but it wouldn't be zero. I'd be one of them. If you show up in a van and wear masks and try to kidnap people at gunpoint, not even identifying yourself, and you get killed, that's your own fucking fault. You deserve it. Whether you're cartel member, ICE member, someone pretending to be ICE member and wearing a mask because they're just hiring mercenary thugs, which seems to be happening. I don't care. You fucking deserve it. You started it. You were the aggressor. You showed up and acted as a terrorist. If somebody shoots you, well, sucks to be you. Maybe don't be an evil dumbass. I would say next time, but in that hypothetical, there isn't a next time. You're dead, you stupid fucker. If that happens once, now, of course, the ruling class would be, oh, this is horrible. We gotta stomp down on this. With what? What resources do you think they have to do that? And this is the thing. I've talked about this for decades. The thing that tyrants always do wrong, I mean, they do lots of things immorally, but the tactical botch up they almost always do is they abuse people and they oppress people, and they abuse people and they oppress people, and they think, well, we got away with it yesterday, we'll probably get away with it tomorrow. And they don't understand that when suddenly resistance happens, it can be a very fast cascade and get out of hand in a heartbeat. I mean, the American Revolution, the shot heard round the world, the fact that we still know the phrase, the shot heard round the world, it refers to one person firing a gun. Battle of Lexington. Lay down your guns. No. Bang. Who fired first? Don't know, don't care. But the fact that that thing was basically the spark that made a revolution happen. Because a bunch of people are like, what? They tried to violently disarm us? Well, screw you. And all those colonists who were mostly just kind of bitching about it until then, saying, we don't like the king and we're going to burn him in effigy and say nasty things about him and rah, rah, rah. And then suddenly there was an actual shootout. And a whole bunch of those people who yesterday were just complaining are grabbing guns and saying, all right, no, we're done. If you're going to come and violently attack us where we live, we're going to exterminate you. And that has happened over and over again. Now, it happens a lot more quickly and effectively if the people are armed like they are in the U.S., but it even has happened in places where people didn't have firearms. It's like, we have nothing left to lose. We're fed up enough that even if your soldiers have spears and swords and we have rocks and sticks, at some point we're just going to say, screw you, and do what we can and fight. And maybe you'll slaughter a bunch of us, but suddenly we're not going to be that easy to manage. And so, I mean, obviously the movie Braveheart, the movie Braveheart took liberties with the actual historical story of William Wallace and what actually happened. But if you look up what actually happened, there's a lot of the general plot in common, where a bunch of people are just like, screw you. And all those people who yesterday were just grumbling are suddenly, they're at our castle, there's tons of them, they're pissed off, what are we going to do? Because governments rule by terror. They're terrorists. That is how they function. It's how the IRS functions. Scare the crap out of a bunch of people by making an example here or there and ruining some lives, and everybody else will pay their tribute to the parasitical ruling class. DEA rules by terrorism. ATF rules by terrorism. We're going to make an example and publicize it all over the place. Okay, and that works to a certain extent until people have had enough and they say, yeah, we're not doing this and we're resisting. And if you come attack us, maybe one day, we're not going to complain about it. We're not going to protest, and we're not going to sue you. We're just going to shoot you in the head. And the thing is, once somebody does that, it is very easy for that to cascade into something that the feds can't nearly handle, that no ruling class could handle. Because, as I've explained a million times, the victim class of a ruling class has to be way bigger, just economically speaking, has to be way bigger than the ruling class. You can't have a slave plantation that's like booming economy with 2 slaves. Like, they don't produce enough like wealth for you bastards to live off of. There has to be lots and lots of productive people to enrich you parasitic pieces of crap. And if those lots and lots, if you make an example here and there and the lots and lots are scared and obedient, okay. But the day those lots and lots are all the way pissed off and think they have nothing to lose, things go really badly. By the way, there's a movie about this called Jones Plantation, and there's a book about it. The novel version of it that gets more into the mentality and the managing of human livestock, because Smith has more time to explain such things and how you have to keep the livestock in line, and the moment they all figure out they can kick your ass, you're kind of doomed. Well, at any given moment, the feds are this close to creating a backlash they can't nearly handle. And they're huffing and puffing. Now, a certain amount of conflict they actually want. They're trying to make a fight so they can go, look, they're victimizing us. They're being mean to ICE agents. And what were you doing at the time? Acting like anonymous Nazis wearing masks and barging into people's houses? Wonder why they might have been mad at you. So they want a certain amount of that because they need the conflict and they need the division. Trouble is, Trump is a moron and doesn't know when to stop pushing to avoid creating a backlash that can very quickly and easily overwhelm the crap of stupid ICE. I mean, there's like protests at ICE facilities, people standing outside saying, you suck. Okay, well, they suck. I don't mind people telling them that they suck. I don't know why you think that's going to change very much. But imagine, again, if the people on the outside adopted the mentality of the people on the inside. Oh, we're at war? We're arming up now? This is a violent conflict? This is how we're going to treat the other side? We're heavily armed and we tell you what to do? And use violence to enforce our will? If the people on the outside decide to do that, now you have a bunch of Nazis inside a box. Guess whether any of them are ever getting out alive? Nope, they're all dead. They're all fucking dead. If you get 100 people outside that thing who decide, yeah, we're done complaining and throwing rocks, we're just going to kill you. And again, not even saying they should. I'm just saying, logistically speaking, if you get 100 people on the outside with the same mentality as the people on the inside, only on the other side, they're all dead. You're literally in a box. Cut the electric. Eventually they'll come out. Then shoot them. Then they're dead. Like, for all the times they we're going to paramilitarize the police and act like fascist thugs. Like, okay, the day other people view you as an invading army, which you are, things are going to go really badly for you because you are vastly outnumbered and vastly outgunned by the people around you. And you don't know the neighborhood. You don't live there. They have home field advantage. So you can march up and down the city streets putting on a show and be in range of 2,000 different windows where anybody with a decent hunting rifle could blow your fucking head off. Okay, now what do your tactics look like? We're going to be big and bad in the middle of the street. Well, then you're going to be dead and rotten in the middle of the street, you dumbasses. Well, now we're going to be hiding and we're going to be retreating, okay? Then you lose. And again, I don't want it to come to this. I absolutely believe in the right of self-defense. If somebody tried to kidnap me and said, well, we're not sure you're a U.S. citizen, so some guy with a mask and a gun is going to kick down your door, I'm going to fucking kill you. And I don't care about your badge, and I don't care about your law, and I don't care about any of that shit. If you're literally attempting armed kidnapping, I'm going to fucking kill you. And lots of other people are too. And lots of people right now would have been justified in doing that who are being victimized. Mostly the bullies and thugs go after unarmed people. Gee, I wonder why. Because that's how terrorists function. But the moment even a tiny minority decides, okay, we're playing this military style, let's play it military style. That's the end. And it won't be a big grandiose civil war. It won't be a giant revolution. It'll be one day there's a pile of dead ICE agents or National Guard dumbasses or whatever. And then it's holy shit, okay, now we have to backpedal, we the fascist thugs. Because if we escalate it from there and other people go, okay, I guess it's time for that. In a heartbeat, it can swing from, day-to-day life, most people, they still have something to lose, they're going along with it, to suddenly, no, fuck you. And that's what the American Revolution was. All right, we're finally fed up, we're all the way kicking you out. And the moment people step over that line, they know there is no return. And it's a thing that my brother and I flippantly refer to as cave in or kill them all. Because in a lot of situations, not morally, just tactically speaking, that's what thugs of the state, those are the choices they leave people. If they come upon a situation and they're going to escalate the violence until you submit, or until they're dead, you don't have the option of saying, well, I don't like this, can you not, and having them walk away. If they will escalate it, which mindless thugs of the state constantly do, your two choices become either cave in and go along with whatever fascist bullshit they want to do to you, or kill them all. Those are your only two choices. You can't kill one and expect the others to go, well, golly gee, I see your point now, we're going to walk away. Now, at some point, it doesn't really kill them all because the rest of them get scared and drop their guns and run away like the frickin' cowards they are. But when it comes to that, it can happen so freaking quickly. And it doesn't matter how many Republicans are peeing themselves if somebody fought back against our Nazis. Okay, you gonna go take to the streets to do anything about it? Probably not, because now you're all spineless bootlicking cowards. And the failure to understand that has been the downfall of tyrant after tyrant after tyrant after tyrant, where they push it and go, we could probably push it a little bit more because we got away with it yesterday. And they never seem to learn their lesson. Yeah, but when it backlashes, it can backlash really fast, really far. And again, this had nothing to do with morality. Like the French Revolution went just bonkers overboard and turned into just a mass slaughter of the ruling class, the royalty, the elites, whatever you want to call them. Like, got pretty dang nasty, and I'm sure resulted in the murder of a bunch of people who didn't deserve to be murdered, where it wasn't at all justified. So this isn't about whether it's justified or not. It's just about how reality works. When you piss off the human livestock enough that even a tiny percentage of them are willing to resist by force, there's no ruling class in the world that has the resources or the personnel to actually forcibly suppress a significant percentage of the population. 1% of the population of this country is over 3 million people. That's a lot of people. And that's 1%. If 1% resisted, the feds are doomed. Especially if the 1% is like, okay, now we're all the way in combat mode and we're going to do guerrilla tactics. We know where your office is. You're nice enough to put your big stupid name on the front of it. So you're all screwed. Even if you outnumber us 10-1, have fun sitting inside your box. Or you get to work the next day. Oh, your box burned to the ground. Huh. So the rate at which these things can collapse for authoritarian ruling classes is amazing, and it's something that power-happy dumbasses always seem to forget. They always overestimate their power just over and over again, and they underestimate how quickly a backlash can suddenly make a bunch of obedient human livestock into another angry cattle charging at us. What do we do? Well, you die because you were too stupid to know how hard to push. And is that going to happen in this case? Seems to be getting pretty close in some cases. Don't know if it will. I don't actually want it to. I'd rather the fascist dumbasses decide to stop being fascist dumbasses. And now they're literally, we'll give you $50,000 if you'll join up to be a stupid fucking Nazi randomly harassing nonviolent people. Oh, goody. I'm sure that's going to attract just the most moral, awesome, principled people. But being spineless and evil and having your soul for sale doesn't change the fact that once bullets are flying in the other direction, most of those people are going to go, screw this. 50 grand doesn't help if I'm in a puddle of my own blood anymore. So yeah, no thanks. I quit. Bye. And so this may be the dumbass. Mango Mussolini may be the dumbass who finally pushes it to the point where some people push back. And I don't mean by protests and bottles and rocks. I mean, okay, if we're playing military tactics, let's play military tactics. And then all his bluster and bravado and trying to be tough, brave leader. I am the greatest leader who ever was. I'm the greatest tactician. I'm the greatest everything that has ever been in the world. And I will demonstrate it by pissing off so many people that we have a war inside my own country. That's how great I am. But it wouldn't be a war. It would be a very brief little pockets of resistance followed by the thugs of the ruling class going, screw this, we quit. Because even the completely immoral, order-obeying, mindless pieces of sadistic shit who now wear ICE uniforms, for example, and ATF and DEA, don't want to leave you guys out, you Nazi fucks. It doesn't matter how immoral they are, they still don't want to die. And notice how much they whine and bitch and moan about something that's nothing close to that. Oh, they're following ICE agents and posting their names online and saying where they live. Huh. Why would that be a problem for you? Is it because you're inside a country where lots of people might totally have reason to hate your guts, you fascist fucks? And if you're pissing yourself that much over, hey, some women followed ICE agents and said, we hate you and we're telling people where you live, we're going to arrest them and prosecute them. Well, maybe the next ones, instead of following you and saying where you live, will just shoot one of you. Then what are you going to do? We're going to prosecute you. Okay, they're probably going to shoot whoever you send after them when you try to prosecute them. And they might have friends who go, okay, well, I guess we're over the line now. We're not going back to, we'll just put up with it because it's tolerable, like the Declaration of Independence describes. It's like, well, it's not tolerable anymore. Guess it's war. They're treating it like we're at war with them. They're coming in with their fascist bullshit and their authoritarian thuggery. Well, they're acting like we're at war. Guess we're at war. The moment even a tiny percentage of the population thinks that, there will be a backlash that the feds will not forget for a very long time, because a bunch of them will die and the rest of them will give up. And then the politicians will be screaming at each other. It won't stinking matter. And Trump's too stupid to understand that. And it seems a lot of the tyrants these days are too stupid to understand that. And it's not the way I want things to go. I would rather people disobeying and resisting in a way that didn't require anybody getting shot or even threatened. But if fascists push it and escalate it to violence, at some point somebody's going to resist using force. And then very quickly, the huffing and puffing of we're big and bad, that's going to be out the window. And it's going to be, oh, look, a bunch of dead feds. Huh. They probably should have stopped doing that a while ago. But they were too fucking stupid, and so was the guy telling them to do it. So no, we're not going to have a countrywide dystopian police state because they don't have the resources. We're going to see it here and there. It's going to be evil, and we'll see who has the spine to resist. We'll see who has the spine to condemn it, which is almost no Republicans at the moment. Bunch of spineless, boot-kissing wusses pretending to be conservatives and constitutionalists and Christians. I will say again, if you are still supporting Trump and what is happening, you are not a Christian, you are not a conservative, you don't give a shit about the Constitution, you're just a bootlicking Nazi idiot, And you deserve the contempt and hatred of all decent people. Like early on, maybe you could have imagined there was a reason that Trump was going to somehow be pro-freedom. You can't pretend that anymore. So you're just cheering for evil. You're literally the bad guys in V for Vendetta and Braveheart and Hunger Games and every other dystopian story you can. You're on the wrong side cheering for the ruling class. You dumbasses. And when it suddenly happens, because eventually it will, that people have had enough, the game is going to change very, very quickly, and you're suddenly going to see just how little power the ruling class actually has when the people don't go along with their shit anymore.